Hey everybody, welcome back to The Practice. This is when we get together with our identity groups to put into practice those things we are learning on Sunday.
Right.
And we try to go a little bit deeper and move from the lower room experience to the upper room experience.
Right.
But first, we want to make sure that you know what's going on and we can all keep in step with each other.
Right.
So we just got done with VBS. It was awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes.
So many volunteers. It was so great. I
Yep.
feel like I'm in a little bit of an afterglow here. Really grateful. And also another heartfelt thank you to all of the people that have been serving in the OC Kids ministry.
Yeah.
Great job, guys. Seriously, I'm just really so grateful for the ways you've been implementing the things that we created, the systems of finding subs and dealing with stuff. So thank you, thank you, thank you. It's coming together. But then this Friday we have Christmas in July coming up. I don't know if we still need volunteers. Do you? I'm not
we don't need
informed.
volunteers, but I think that we still need some donations for some prizes and things like that.
Donations.
So check out the Weekly Wave, and you can contact Kim Wynn especially about that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Don't forget, this coming Sunday is our Salt Sundays. Woohoo! I love those. Those are my favorite. I always
Yeah.
get to go to the farmer's market first.
Okay.
And it's so fun. Anyways, we're actually going to be in Orlando, as
Yeah.
Jay shared on Sunday, but that's going to change really nothing about the schedule here. We're just going to keep having services. We'll have our salt service, and then the next Sunday we'll be back at the building as per usual.
Right.
And then on August 7th,
That is the next Sunday.
that is
Yeah.
the next Sunday.
So that next Sunday, we are still going to be in Orlando, but we will have a service at the building that day. Pablo Padilla is going to be preaching that day on the next part of Daniel and the visions and everything. So that's going to be really cool. So yes, so we will have service on the 7th.
Great. Then we go into Fall Festivals Camp. It's going to be so fun.
Right.
We've been reading this book about how, Jesus fits into the Fall Festivals.
It's really
going to
cool.
be so cool. Please sign up. It's going to
Yep.
be awesome. Don't
And
miss it.
we're kind of running out of rooms that we have confirmed, but we don't have the number of people that we need yet. So it's a strange thing how that's working out. But if you want to get one of those hotel rooms, please sign up ASAP. Let's get you registered right now so that I know for sure that we've got everybody in the rooms that we want.
And in that same way, we only have 2 spots left for Panama.
Yeah.
It's so going to be so awesome. So if you want to be the last 2 spots, you really need to text
Do not delay.
Yeah,
Even though the trip is in March of next year,
telling you.
it doesn't mean you can wait till January to sign up. The spots are going, and like I said, I only have 15, so they've already been taken up. So if you want to go, you need to let me know ASAP.
Absolutely.
Because we're getting that all squared up here in the next couple weeks, probably.
And for all of our marrieds, register for the marriage retreat.
That's right.
Just do it because
All
you
the
know
details
your
came
marriage
out.
needs it.
Yeah, all the details came out today, and I think it's going to be a really great retreat down in San Diego. So check the Weekly Wave for all of that information, too.
There you have it.
Okay, so Sunday, we were talking about Daniel chapter 4, which is this story of Nebuchadnezzar. And,
his madness.
And his madness. And, Nebuchadnezzar is this amazing guy, the ruler of the whole world. And yet God is patiently and persistently trying to get his attention and get his heart. And so, we were trying to just connect that with how many times God is coming after us and wanting us to follow him, and his patience in coming after us. And then you've got Daniel right in the middle of it, like, oh, dude, this is not good. I just felt badly for him having to interpret this dream for his ruler, for his king then in this moment. And so there's a lot of good things for us to get with that. There's so many different angles that you could look at with Daniel chapter 4. So many different lessons that you could learn, and even trying to figure out, I just think it's cool that a lot of scholars, preachers, they even say, well, we're probably going to see Nebuchadnezzar in heaven because at the end, he turned to God. Now, the Bible never says anything about him after that, like whether or not he failed again, like some of the other kings of Israel and Judah. If he was there, it would be cool.
Really cool.
So, who knows with all that. So, but today what we want to focus on, we just want to take one verse from Daniel chapter 4 and something that stood out to us that we've been talking about a little bit, because I think it'll be really helpful for the South Orange County Church and for us as we get into this. And that is in verse 27, as Daniel is communicating this dream and its interpretation to Nebuchadnezzar. And at the end, he wraps up with this phrase. He says, "Therefore, your majesty, be pleased to accept my advice." Be pleased to accept my advice. You can almost hear him like, oh, please please listen to me because I know what's going to happen to you if you don't, you know? And there's no indication that the king did. No indication that he had a positive or a negative response to it, other than he just kept living his life and believing that he was the master of his domain and all that he could see, right? But you hear this pleading from Daniel, like, you've got to accept my advice.
Yeah.
So we want to talk about advice. And this is, you know, when we did our, we did a series, our LED series back in the beginning of 2021, and we're talking about trigger words that we have: leadership, evangelism, discipleship. We could have added advice.
It should have been LEAD.
Right, we could have had a lead service instead
advice
of LED
could definitely
service.
be one of those.
Because, you know, when you go back in the history of our movement, and getting advice was something that was really taught and believed as one of the principles of a follower of Jesus. And the reason for that is because it is biblical. It is biblical. And God actually designed it that way. He designed us to live together in this spiritual family where we're actually helping one another, growing to become more like Jesus. So it's Paul even, yes, you're competent to instruct one another. Yeah. You're supposed to admonish and teach one another. You're supposed to help one another. This spiritual life that we're living, we need other spiritual people to help us as we go about living it. You know, we can get caught up in kind of our little suburban lifestyle where we've got our little house and our little activities that we do, and our kids have their activities. And then we also have church, and we'll go to church on Sunday and sing some songs and hear a message, and we have our little small group. But we don't let the spiritual family impact necessarily the way that we live at work or how we maybe engage the rest of our life. Now, this is a temptation that we can all fall into if we're not intentional. And so I believe that I want us to grow in becoming more and more intentional about getting and receiving advice. You know, when you look at the way that the Bible is set up, like, you see it all through there about the advice that is given or the advice that is ignored, and then the consequences that can come because of that. But this can definitely trigger us because, you know, we have this kind of rugged American individualism where, you know, nobody can tell me what to do, and I want to live my own life. And this is built into the DNA of our country here, and pull ourselves by our own up by our own bootstraps, and we got to take care of our own life and all of that. And so we can have the same thing, like, nobody can tell me what to do, which is true. Nobody can tell you what to do. But maybe God wants us to be in a situation where we go beyond that. It's not somebody telling me what to do. It's me saying, hey, what do you think I should do? Allowing somebody else to speak into my life and give me a perspective on things that I might not be seeing in the moment. Because, man, when life is getting intense and stress is building and stakes are high, we can get very tunnel vision, and we only see one part of it. We're not seeing some of the outside things. And it's important for other people to be able to say, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? That could be helpful.
Yeah. But, you know, we have to also take into account that in our movement, this thing that started that was very, very good, Satan was able to take it and make it bad at times. And, you know, there has been times where it's almost like it became, you know, you should have gotten advice about that, which really meant you should have gotten my permission. Yeah. I mean, there's times where that was the case, where the advice became synonymous with permission, and where, you know, bad advice maybe was given, and that kind of thing. I mean, you know, that's what Satan does, is he takes a very beautiful concept that God created and he skews it. Right. So, you know, I think this stuck out to me when I read this the first time, because I've been thinking about this a lot, this concept of advice, because I kind of felt for Daniel in this moment. Because here he is, he can see this thing that's going to happen to Nebuchadnezzar, and he wants to warn him, you know. Right. And I had kind of made this decision over the past couple of years, like, I'm not giving any more unsolicited advice. Okay. You know, I'm not doing it, no. Realizing that probably that's not a good idea to give unsolicited advice. But I haven't really known what to do with them. But what do I do when I see something in one of my friends that's around me, and it might not be something that they've done to hurt me, you know, it may not be a conflict or they've hurt my feelings or some way, but just something I see, this is not good. So there's something, I feel like God wants to warn you about something. And so what is the right way to bring that up with somebody? You know, can I give you some unsolicited advice? I mean, I haven't figured that out yet. I'm in the middle of that journey. And another way that it's impacted me, this whole thing of advice, is I have gotten, through the years, you know, I've actually gotten some really good advice. I've also gotten some really strange advice.
Right.
And those things do exist. I've had times where I feel like people didn't really know what they were talking about, or maybe they didn't ask questions, or maybe they were dealing with their own stuff, or maybe they just didn't have the experience. But another way that's hurt me, probably even more, is that I feel like the times where people haven't offered something that they see, some advice that they see from the outside, because of my position. It could be because I'm a leader, or I have authority and people have authority issues, or, leadership, like, oh, I shouldn't say anything. Or maybe I'm just intimidating in my personality, which is totally possible, that they might just feel insecure saying what they feel like they see. And the truth is, I really need that. I need the people that are around me to feel like they can tell me something that might be hard to hear.
Right.
Like, I really do need people around me to tell me the truth, to help me to grow. I like to think of it as my side view mirrors. I really do need that, because honestly, I can get some stuff done and I can get going, and I cannot realize how I come off. I can miss how it feels to be on the other side of me.
Right.
And I need people who love me enough to tell me that stuff.
Right. Right.
So,
the before we kind of, barrel forward in a sense and just talking about advice, let's just take a moment and go back and look at some of the passages that do talk about advice, so that we can try to go, okay, this isn't an opinion of whether we should or whether we shouldn't, but what does the Bible say about it?
Yeah.
And then how do we do that in a good way? So let's look at a couple of these passages. In Proverbs chapter 12, I just want to read through several of these Proverbs, but Proverbs chapter 12, verse 15, it says, "The way of fools seems right to them, but the wise listen to advice."
I think I was just talking about that.
Okay.
No, I'm going.
Right.
This is good. I'm doing good.
Moving forward. Moving fast. Proverbs 13, verse 10, "Where there is strife, there is pride, but wisdom is found in those who take advice." Matt, so much to unpack in that little one right there. If you have strife in your life, try to identify the pride.
Yeah.
Try to identify your own pride.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there's pride on the other part
I'm
too.
sure you can see the other person's pride.
Yes, that'll be
easy to
easy.
see.
It's a little bit harder to identify your own and be honest about it. But wisdom is found in those who take advice. Don't let those words move past you. Wisdom is found in those who take advice.
That's what I want to be.
Right. I want to be wise. Proverbs 19, verse 20. "Listen to advice and accept discipline, and at the end you will be counted among the wise."
Sounds good.
At the end, I'm okay with it happening at the end. I may not be counted among the wise yet or now, but hopefully at the end I'll get there, right? Just listen to advice and accept the discipline. Proverbs 20, verse 18 says, "Plans are established by seeking advice. So if you wage war, obtain guidance." I think this is really a healthy thing to do when you're considering a move, a job, an endeavor of any kind. Asking somebody, "Hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. Is there anything you think I should consider? Is there anything else that I'm not seeing that maybe I should think about?" I think that's a great question. And then I wanted us to look at this passage because I just thought this was really sweet. Proverbs 27, verse 9, sorry. "Perfume and incense bring joy to the heart, and the pleasantness of a friend springs from their heartfelt advice."
Sweet.
I think this is really good, that the friends that you have that are truly friends are the ones that will give you heartfelt advice. Many times we like to surround ourselves with companions who are just easy to get along with and never would challenge us on anything, never would say anything honest to us, but we just kind of hang out. But a true friend, in a biblical sense, is someone who will be honest and who will give us that heartfelt advice.
Now, I have to say, I get it, not wanting to do it. I don't, because it's sticky.
Yeah.
And it makes problems and makes waves.
Right.
I don't want to bring anything up. It's going to be a thing.
Right.
Now it's a thing.
Right.
No. So I totally understand it. But I think, come on, guys, we can grow in our maturity to be able to get to where we do this well.
So we want to think about getting to the point where a distinctive of our church something that we really are known for, this is who we are, is we are a people who will get advice and ask for advice from our spiritual family. Now, in order to get there, sometimes we have to unentangle past experiences and some difficulties from the way that we've done things before, or times that we have been hurt, or other things like that. And so we kind of have to unentangle that so we can get back to God's idea of what it should be. So for tonight, what we want you to be able to do is have some discussions in your group about this concept. Now, what I don't want us to do, because I don't want you to panic and freak out right now, because I'm not saying that I want you to ask everybody in your group for advice tonight.
Yeah,
or go around the room and everybody give advice to one person. This is not what we're doing.
We're not doing that.
But yes, but I do want the idea, like I want us to be a people who, in the right way, because of God's direction in the scriptures, I want us to be able to be a people who do get advice from one another and listen to spiritual input. And so I want us to grow towards that. And so tonight, what I do want you to do in your groups is just kind of identify and acknowledge some of the things that maybe came up in your heart or in your thoughts as we were discussing this. The things that are concerning to you, or the things that you might be feeling fearful about, where there's a little bit of like, oh man, but if I ask for advice, I don't know that that's going to go very well, or I've done that before and I got really shut down and it was really embarrassing. I'm not going to do that again. Those things, I want you to see if you can identify them and say them, kind of say them out loud. I think it's good for us to be able to say, this is what holds me back in this situation. And it's good for the people around us
to hear
that.
Yeah.
Because then it always helps me. When I hear what somebody is wrestling with or fearful about, it helps me to have a lot more compassion on them. So as we're identifying these things, I think it'll be really good for us to kind of share that.
Yeah, I think just getting it out, and sometimes when I hear an experience that somebody had, I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
Right.
So, and I think it's therapeutic for us to get those experiences out. Right. But I would just caution us to, number one, don't feel the need to fix that, to say, yeah, but, when someone's sharing their thing and then you're like, yeah, but, let's just let everybody get their stuff out.
Right.
These were my experiences. And then, but
and just
also,
say thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah. But also, let's be careful in the way that we're expressing ourselves, that it doesn't go down that road that sometimes can happen where you just start throwing the church under the bus. You know, it's like, it gets really negative, like we're rolling our eyes or laughing at the church. When the truth is that all of us, we are the church. And none of us actually set out to hurt anyone. That wasn't our intention. Like, oh, I love to control people. I'm going to, nobody was trying to do that. Let's just acknowledge that these things happened. God can redeem it. God can heal it without, sort of throwing the church under the bus. It becomes unhealthy sometimes.
Right. No, I think that's really good. So hopefully this will just be a great opportunity for you to just share, like, okay, this is what's going on inside of me as we're talking about this concept of advice. And it will help us to, be able to find God's way through it. And like Daniel said to Nebuchadnezzar, be pleased to accept my advice. So hope you guys have great discussion groups tonight. Hope you have great Salt Sundays this coming weekend. And we look forward to seeing you again very soon. Love you guys.